Hi, Bill DeSimone. I developed the moment arm exercise approach to weight training, which you might have seen in a manual or at a conference or now on video. This approach came about less because I was trying to become the next fitness guru and more as a response to my own injuries. A little over 10 years ago, I ruptured my own biceps and triceps, which, shall we say, got my attention. I'd been training with weights for about 25 years at the time. I had been certified as a trainer. I'd been working as a trainer. I had competed, or at least participated, in bodybuilding and other competitions. I had memorized and studied years of muscle magazines and mainstream exercise books, so I thought I knew what I was doing. Once the injuries healed and I got back to the gym, I noticed that some exercises were completely unaffected, and yet others I could barely get into position to do the exercise. So I put aside all the exercise books and I went to physiology, biomechanics, mechanics, kinesiology texts, and I was trying to figure out what was happening. Much to my surprise, a lot of what I've been doing in the name of exercise, whether it was barbells, dumbbells, or machines, contradicted proper muscle and joint function. And my thought was that the unnecessary wear and tear over the years had probably set me up for both injuries. And since I couldn't find another hobby because, I got to work out, I redesigned how I was personally doing the exercises. So I started with the instruction I knew, and then I would filter it through the biomechanics. That redesign eventually became the Moment Arm Exercise Manual. Now, if you're not familiar with the manual, behind me are some pages from it. In it, I identify disconnects between big E exercise and biomechanics, and then I redesign exercises to be more congruent. Not to mention, I provide a quick summary of relevant, if simplified, mechanics and a full bibliography and references. First, let me describe the disconnect, and then what I mean by congruent. There are a number of conventional free weight exercises, as well as modern machine exercises, that load the joints in vulnerable positions, such as here in a dumbbell pullover, and here in a deadlift, here in a squat, and in the fully stretched out position of a pull down. By vulnerable, I mean that the joints either shouldn't move into these positions because of a bony or a soft tissue obstruction, or they shouldn't be loaded in these positions because the prime mover may not be able to exert enough force, and so the smaller, deeper muscles may strain. Even though we call it exercise, we can still put the shoulders in impingement, we can still bend knees and elbows the wrong way, we can still flatten the curves in the spine, we can still strain the rotator cuff, even with good intentions. There are also exercises, not necessarily the same ones, that load the muscles in a pattern that the prime mover can't accommodate. And by that I mean the exercise is mechanically hardest where the target muscle is biomechanically weakest. For instance, with a dumbbell pullover, the beginning stretch position, where the lats are weakest with your arms overhead, but that's mechanically the hardest part of the exercise. Or the vice versa, the opposites can happen, such as in a side raise. The exercise is mechanically easiest when your arms are hanging straight down at the bottom. Your target muscle is relatively strong biomechanically. These parts, the joint postures and motions, and the mismatched load, are part of the disconnect. The first part of the redesign was to use biomechanically safe joint postures. The second part was to use what I called congruent exercise. In mathematics, curves are called congruent when they coincide exactly when superimposed. The curves we're concerned with are the muscle torque curve and the resistance torque curve. The muscle torque curve represents the biomechanic strength as the joint moves. It's a function of your muscle force and the internal lever, or moment arm, that it acts through. It's variable depending on the joint angle. It's predictable, not malleable, regardless of what the magazines imply, and it's documented in textbooks. The resistance torque curve is a product of the actual weight and the external lever, also a moment arm, created as the weight moves around your body, at least for free weights and simple machines. It represents the mechanical difficulty through the range of motion for that particular exercise. Ideally, the mechanical difficulty matches the biomechanic strength through the whole motion of the exercise. Your effort then becomes more efficient. It goes towards working your muscles as opposed to fighting a mechanical sticking point. So now we combine the efficiency of congruent exercise with biomechanically safe joint postures and motions, and we can get to the benefits of weight training quicker and with fewer complaints. Now, you don't have to memorize muscle torque curves and joint positions and diagram out moment arms and try to coordinate it all, because that's what I've done in the manual. And as it happens, if an exercise just feels hard, if there's no sticking point, no rest point, and no joint pain, that's a good hint that it's congruent. Here are some diagrams from the manual showing congruent exercises. We have straight arm pull down, a reverse grip bench press for the delts, and the pull-up. And the manual goes into detail for most of the other major muscle groups.